When we discuss reinforcement, we often think of token boards and other reinforcement that is given by an ABA therapist. However, did you know that our learners can also be taught to regulate their own behavior and become active participants in their own learning through the use of behavior contracts? What's a behavior contract and how can we use it?
Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna.
We're behavior analysts that create weekly content about how to teach kids with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your jobs just a little easier. Today's topic is all about what is a behavior contract. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
So I have a student who got a job in a coffee shop. And when he first started, we couldn't be in there for too long with him. And, we could have gone in and given some tokens and what have you, but that would have embedded ourselves in the teaching interaction and it would have created a dependency for us. So instead, we put together a behavior contract that really simply stated, here's some things to do at my job. Number one is greet my manager. Number two is punch in with a time card. And number three is to stay on task for X amount of time. And we reviewed this behavior contract with him. We practiced it. And then he was independent within about a week or two. It was really awesome to see.
That's amazing. So a behavior contract is a really useful tool that specifies what the expected behavior is, what the time frame is that it's expected to be seen in, and what the reward is. And it's not something that we would start off with some of the students that we work with. It's usually something that they work towards. It's really for students that have already become familiar with a token system or a token board and understand those contingencies of I do something, I earn some sort of reinforcement, I continue to do something, maybe I earn bigger reinforcers. And once they have that concept, we can work towards something like a behavior contract.
You're right. Students really do need to understand that contingency of delayed reinforcement, right? It can't be, well, I do something, I get something, I do something, I get something. Behavior contracts don't work like that. It's not that immediate. So they need to be able to understand the concept of delayed reinforcement. But once they've got that concept, we can quickly move to a behavior contract. Shira, you mentioned that, a contract is like a written agreement. A lot of times I've seen students sign the contract. That doesn't necessarily need to happen. I've had students sign contracts before, but I've also had students just use it more as a checklist, right? So the checklist would be first I do this and then I do this. I sit at my desk, I attend to the teacher, I raise my hand, that type of thing.
So the really great thing about introducing a behavior contract is as our students are getting older, we want them to take more ownership over their own goals and their own reinforcement. We can move them off of, a token system that really relies on someone else, someone external from them to come and provide that reinforcement and provide that behavior specific praise and the token. And it gives them ownership over being able to reflect on their own behavior, being able to track their own behavior and ultimately access their own reinforcers. And it's also a lot more subtle. So if a student is moving into a classroom or a work environment and it isn't even possible to have a token system running, we could start to teach them the concept of a behavior contract so that they could take that with them into another setting and have it be a lot more natural.
When introducing behavior contracts, it's really important to start small. Typically, we pick 3 to 5 goals max, no more. It's too overwhelming for students, but typically we pick 3 to 5 goals and we state them positively. So, we don't say, don't hit today or, don't run away from your desk. It would be more so, did I keep my hands to myself or, did I stay at my desk? Those types of things would be goals. So stating them really positively, keeping it small, keeping it simple. So 3 to 5 goals max.
And the way that it would start is it would look actually pretty similar to a token system. So instead of expecting that self-reflection right from the beginning, we may pick those 3 to 5 goals and actually have, 5 opportunities for us to notice those behaviors. So similar to a token system, there's 5 opportunities to notice. Did you stay at your desk? Did you use nice words? And then using those opportunities to provide that reinforcement. And then once they are familiar with that, we may fade those 5 opportunities to like 1 or 2 opportunities. So it's more of like a check-in a couple times a day. Over the course of this subject, over the course of the morning, were you able to keep your hands to yourself? Were you able to stay focused? And then it can also become more of a conversation. We can reflect together on these goals and, how well did you do on these goals? It also doesn't have to be all or nothing. Sometimes I'll use a rating scale for those goals. And so instead of it just being yes or no, I was focused, it was, well, maybe I'd give myself a 3 out of 5 because it was sometimes, but I could have done a little bit better. So there is room for flexibility and conversation around those goals.
One really important thing is that when introducing a behavior contract, the ultimate goal is absolutely you want this behavior contract running all day and, the reinforcement would be delivered at the end of the day, but you can't start there. You have to start relatively small. And like Shira said, at the beginning, it does look more like a token system. We're delivering, the praise for X meeting this goal or this goal. Hey, I saw you doing this. I'm going to, give you that check mark. Sometimes I'll do it on a time-based schedule. So, every 10 minutes or every 15 minutes, I'll have a timer set. And when that timer goes off, we check to look at those goals and say, hey, were you on track and did you meet those goals? Eventually, we're stretching that out so that if you are using a behavior contract in a place like school, eventually that behavior contract can be just a quick check-in after each period. So after math class, let's check in. Did you meet your goals? After language class, let's check in. Did you meet your goals? And then eventually it would be, hey, let's just check in at lunchtime. And then let's just check in after school. And, then maybe it's just one at the very end of the day, but you can't start there. So often I go in and I see teachers who have started there and it's just one check-in at the end of the day and it's just way too long for a student. They really don't understand. So starting small and then systematically increasing that check-in period.
And the other thing to remember in setting up a behavior contract is that the reward should, equal the effort. So sometimes we expect a student to work on a behavior contract for an entire week. And those are high expectations. And there are a lot of demands on them to, control their behavior and do things that are hard for them. And then they only maybe get, a couple minutes of a video at the end of the week. And of course, that's not going to be motivating for them. And it's going to be really hard for them. So you can always tweak, when they're trading in that behavior contract, how often they're accessing reinforcement. And it should be equal. If we're expecting them to do something that's really hard, then maybe they need reinforcement more often, or maybe they need to see that I'm almost there. I just need, a couple more points to get to my next level of reinforcement. The other thing that you can do is have them not only trade in their points with the behavior contract, but also accumulate their points so that if they need that reinforcement a little bit more often, like a couple times a day to trade in the behavior contract, they could also collect those points for bigger rewards, maybe at the end of the week, so that they can learn that there is a benefit to accumulating those rewards. It's not just like, well, I traded in and now I have to start from zero again.
We did that with a few of my learners, and it's really cool. We made a menu of reinforcers, and the menu was, okay, I only need a certain amount of points to get this small little thing, but, I need a lot of points to get this. And a lot of the time what we see is that these learners go right away for that quick grab. I'm going to cash in my points. My points are burning a hole in my pocket, basically, right? And I've got to, cash in really quickly. And then over time, you see them starting to go, oh, wait a second, I can save up for something else. And it's really cool that the behavior shifts from I need to cash in right away to I'm going to save, which is also another life goal, which is pretty cool.
And because we want to build a lot of that buy-in and ownership over the goals, this overlaps really well with students who are working on ACT type programming. So it could be a conversation of developing these goals on a behavior contract together. What are their values? And then how can we pick some committed actions to work towards their values? And then it's not about me enforcing these rules on you, but it's about you wanting to accomplish these values and how can I help you? And then those check-ins are more of, well, we were successful with this today, but you weren't so successful with this. Well, how can I help you so that next time you could be more successful? Because remember, these are your goals and your values. It's not just something that you're doing because we said so, right? We want to set our students up to be successful adults and as independent as possible. And building up that intrinsic motivation is a great thing to do.
And that buy-in is so important. And, if your student's able to do that, make sure you include your student in every step of the way. So if your student can contribute to what are your goals? What are your goals at school today or during this subject? What should I be writing on this behavior contract? If your student can come up with some of those goals, they're more likely to buy into the whole behavior contract, as well as be successful with it. If your student doesn't or can't communicate those goals, make sure you're incorporating the student's team. So make sure you're talking to the teacher, make sure you're talking to parents, making sure you're talking to therapists, whoever is involved in the specific situation. Make sure you're talking to everybody around so that you are getting that buy-in. And you're also making sure that you're individualizing it to your client. If you've got, if you say, hey, listen, here's what I've used in the past. Here are the 3 goals I've used in the past. Go for it, do it. That's not individualized. Likewise, if you've got a teacher in a classroom who's got, say, 5 different individuals on behavior contracts, and that teacher uses, the same rewards for all 5 of those students, that's not individualized either. So really talking about what is, very specific to your client in terms of goals, but also in terms of reinforcers or motivators as well. So what does your client like, and have your client tell you if they can.
And once you've set up these goals, the expectations shouldn't change. Sometimes I'll see that the rules change every day. The teacher decided that today these are the expectations and that, you didn't really work hard enough. So I'm not going to actually, provide that reinforcement. Once you've set up this agreement, here's what we can expect from the student, we're also giving our word that this is what you can expect from us. We're not going to change the rules. And as long as you're keeping up your side of the contract, then we're going to keep up our side of the contract.
Now, Sherry, you're right to a certain degree. You shouldn't be changing those rules every single day, but over time, make sure you're examining those rules and make systematic changes. So, if your student, every month or every week, you're checking in with those goals. And if your student has met those goals and is consistently meeting those goals, check in and then say, okay, if you can talk with your student, how can we modify these goals, to make them that much more, I don't even know what the right word is, how much more challenging, right? And what can we do next and what can we do next? So you're constantly thinking about the next step and how we can add to that, but don't flip flop back and forth. Every day it shouldn't be different. It should be very predictable.
And offer lots of opportunities to practice these expectations with the student. So sometimes if we're setting up a behavior contract, we may do a little bit of priming, first thing in the morning as a reminder. Remember, these are the expectations. Let's practice. So let's practice sitting at your desk and raising your hand and waiting to be called on, or let's practice using nice words. We want to prime them and using rehearsal and a role play, giving them as much opportunities as possible to practice those skills so that they can be successful in the moment. We really want to set them up for success and not using this as an opportunity to catch them when they're not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. We really want to use this as a way for us to notice when they are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing and reinforce that.
I do a lot of role play with my students, and it's so beneficial because we can take that teaching opportunity outside of the moment and really look at it. I have a girl, she's 8 years old, and she's a phenomenal student, and she's got these LOL dolls that she absolutely loves. And, she has set up, a behavior contract. We've set up a behavior contract together, but she took her LOL dolls and she set up a classroom, and she also used an OMG doll as the teacher. And then, we role played with her OMG doll as the teacher and her LOL doll as her behavior contract. And it was the cutest thing in the world, but that for her was the role play that she needed to help her understand what the behavior contract was all about.
And ultimately, when a student can work on a behavior contract and develop that independence, they may still need that outside support to make sure that they're accurately self-reflecting. But then we can help them work towards more of a self-monitoring system so that we can help them reflect more accurately and being able to take real ownership over that. And that becomes more of a self-monitoring system.
We have a podcast on self-monitoring that we did with Jamie and Katie from Self and Match. So check that out as well if you want more information about self-monitoring. But the behavior contract ultimately leads to self-monitoring. I want to say one more thing before we wrap up this podcast, and that is really about goals and behavior contract and, checking in about those goals. Make sure those goals and make sure you're giving feedback related to the goals and not related to whether you were quote unquote good or bad today. One of my hugest pet peeves. Okay, were you good today? Let's find out. Oh, you were bad boy today. It just sounds so wrong on so many levels. Somebody isn't good or bad. It's about their goals. Did they meet their goals today? Did they not meet their goals today? And make sure you have that terminology when you're talking with your clients.
So in summary, we discussed what a behavior contract is, how it can be used, and how to develop one, and then moving it on to a self-monitoring system.
Click the link on or around this video to join our membership and to get more great resources and programs to help support you in your behavior therapist journey.
For more information on what is a behavior contract, click the link on or around this video or in the description to join the membership. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.